Ladies and gentlemen, let's RadGameTools video. Let us discuss the Xbox One, PS4 and PC performance. This information comes to us from RadGameTools, who produce Bink Video. Now, Bink Video markets itself to be the video codec for games, and indeed, the very first line on their official website, I'm doing an article of this as well, so you can check that out. There's a link and a little bit more information, but it says, and I quote, "It's massively better than Bink 1. Why? Well, Bink 2.4 actually ships with GPU decoding, which means that it can use compute shaders, and we've discussed those quite heavily before on RGT. It can use those compute shaders on Windows, Linux, PS4, and the Xbox One, which means that a lot of the video decoding can now be pushed to the GPU, which is considerably faster. Right, particularly when you're dealing with like super duper high definition video. So in other words, they're saying because of the multi-core scaling and the SIMD design, that's single instruction multi-data, which means that 70% of instructions executed according to their official website are on SIMD. So that means that you're able to play 4K video frames, which, just in case you're unsure of that resolution, that's 3840 by 2160 in 4 ms on a PC and 11 ms on the PS4 and Xbox One. That's assuming you're using the CPU only. Now, there's a slight caveat here, of course. The primary caveat is that we're not exactly sure of the CPU that they're using to benchmark on the PC, right? So for all we know, they're using an i7 super duper powerful system, or it could be something a little bit more softer. Now, interestingly enough, and of course we all know that compute is going to be extremely important, particularly on the PS4 and Xbox One, and using the GPU, they're saying it's going to be 1.4 ms and 2.3 ms if you're using the GPU acceleration. Now, there's a little bit of confusion going around the internets right now, because a couple of websites are pointing out that they actually mean 2.3 ms for the Xbox One, whereas 1.4 ms is for the PS4, which sounds kind of right because of the way they're using the brackets, right? But if you look on the right-hand side, it actually points out, it says, decode 4K video frames in 2.3 ms on the PS4 or 1.4 ms on the PC. In other words, of course, they're pointing out that the PS4 version is 2.3, but the PC is 1.4, but as far as I can tell, they're not giving a reading for the Xbox One. Now, I'm going to contact the creators of this application. Unfortunately, I can only get one of their email addresses, and I don't necessarily know how great it's going to be, but I've contacted them anyway. I can't comment, I can't guarantee that we're going to be getting a response from them, but hopefully they do reach out and give us a little bit of information about the Xbox One. What it does tell us, of course, is the CPU performance of the PS4, Xbox One are going to be roughly the same. In theory. I mean, they've not really gone super into specifics here. I don't know if that's because of NDAs or just because it's mostly marketing spiel on this. But regardless, you can see it's 4 ms on a PC and 11 on the PS4, Xbox One using the CPU only, which kind of tells me that that's quite impressive. So let's assume that that's true. Let's assume that that's roughly accurate. That means that, give or take a very small amount, the Xbox One's and the PS4's CPU are roughly in line with one another, which is kind of what we understood anyway. I mean, there was that whole texture generation benchmark, which does show that the PS4's CPU is slightly ahead in texture generation. But once again, the problem is there was quite a few questions that were brought into this. You know, how much other system resources were being utilized. So was it a case of, because, you know, the PS4's memory and, for example, the Xbox One's ES RAM wasn't really being utilized, how much of the GPU is being used, how many cores were being used as well. because that wasn't really specific questions that were replied to, which makes it a bit tricky. But we can tell, however, is that 1.4 ms on the PC, as far as I'm reading here, and 2.3 on the PS4's GPU. So obviously the PC GPU is considerably faster, but what I'd like to know is what PC GPU were they utilizing as an example. Anyway, I'm going to do this in an article. I've contacted the developers so we can kind of get an answer. Hopefully they'll reply, and I can't guarantee it, of course. But regardless, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.